Yes, I am. So next up, we have with us Steve and Son from DMZ Stream. He is joined by Ofo Ezeugwu, who is the founder of Who's Your Landlord? Now, their website allows renters to rate their landlord. They recently did a short video about issues around public housing in Philly, and the video went viral. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you so much for having us, David and Selena. Super excited to be here on Bold Business. I'm sorry, go ahead, Ofo.
No, thank you guys for having us as well.
We tried your name. Did we get close?
It was close. It was Ofo.
Ofo. Okay, got it. So close up. So guys, so tell us a little bit about Who's Your Landlord and why you guys think it's important to rate your landlord and sort of hold them accountable.
Yeah, so Who's Your Landlord came out of a need area. My senior year at Temple University, I was the VP of the student body. Students complained often about housing and the fact that they didn't know much about their landlords. And so,
a politician among us.
I've gotten that like in the last couple of days. It's really good. But so we wanted to help them out and expanded beyond that to young professionals and everyone of the like.
Did you get the idea from the Rate Your Teacher website online? Because it sounds. Did you get that? Okay.
I didn't get it from there, but it made a lot of sense in terms of the comparisons. I was using that site too at the time.
So in these big cities, ownership is really limited to a few people. So do you have the same landlords over and over again?
We do see that, but we have many buildings, property managers, landlords. But I think at the end of the day, that's a good thing sometimes in terms of like helping people to know what other people are facing too.
So Steve, why'd you bring your friend here?
Well, I brought him on because I thought, the work he's doing is interesting. And recently they did a video about public housing in Philly, which went viral. I think they have over 80,000 views on Facebook. So I want to get a sense of why you decided to put together the video.
Right. So we've actually been tackling a lot of big topics recently when it comes to public housing, when it comes to shifts in where millennials are moving, when it comes to redlining and kind of that historical standpoint. And so the reason why we're doing this series really is to highlight things in the housing space that people don't know are going on. Mm-hmm. And I think that right now the social climate is so crazy. Mm-hmm. But there's also these longstanding economic things that have affected people that folks just don't know about. And that bears itself out in the comment section. A lot of times, you'll see them just tagging their friends or just like, yo, I didn't know this was even happening, versus like having it engaged, like opinionated conversation because people just don't know.
So what was the reaction after the video went out from the Public Housing Authority in Philly?
Yeah, so the lead of their PHA, so Philadelphia's Housing Authority, their marketing communication reached out to us. They wanted to have a sit-down meeting in Philly, so we did that. But now it's looking like, and our premise and our approach with it was we wanted to see what it would look like if the PHA officials sat down with some of the families we
PHA, Public Housing Authority.
So Philadelphia Housing Authority.
Oh, okay.
Break it down.
Right, alphabet soup here.
All the acronyms, right? But we wanted to see what it would look like to have the officials that run that program sit down with the families. And what we've seen is that just from talking to them, you have the organizations that feel like they're maxed out, they're trying everything they can do, and you have the families that, you have 100,000 people on the waiting list in Philly alone. 10-year waiting list in places like Paterson, New Jersey. New York's very similar as well. So it's not, I think both face different issues, but they're trying to, like, of course, solve the same thing.
So their reaction was somewhat positive, you would say?
Well, initially it was like, you're calling us out. But the reality is, we were saying this is a microcosm of a holistic issue across the U.S. And so I think once that was understood, now we're planning on sitting down with the president of the organization, and they also want us to speak to Secretary of HUD, Ben Carson, when he comes to Philly in a couple of months.
So if you had a chance to speak with Dr. Carson, what would you tell him?
Yeah, I think exactly what I realized in talking to both parties. So for the families, again, the resources aren't necessarily there for them. And, the families that are in housing and not in housing. So, one of the women we profiled, she had 11 surgeries on her ankles and knees, but yet when she went to apply for housing, they gave her a 3-story walk-up. Like, things like that.
Yeah, that.
The negligence.
Right. But on the other side, you have the organizations that feel like they're doing everything they can. They're hiring well. They're using the resources that they're given from the government, but it's not enough. So now you have the new organization threatening cuts in the housing space, which isn't necessarily conducive to helping either side out. So we want to be able to at least, if not, advance the budget, at least keep it the same. So.
Now, obviously, this segment is about technology. So, as an entrepreneur, as a tech founder, why did you feel like you had to do this sort of a video, and how does it tie into the actual startup?
Yeah, content is everything right now, and the ability to have good written content, good visual content is, I think, huge for getting your message out there. And I think, there's a lot of tech companies that are out there that fail every day, that have raised a lot of money and have failed. And I think a lot of times it's because they don't have really like kind of an inner core or real vision. For us, our premise is to make quality living the standard for everyone. And so while right now 80% of our user base are millennials, we know that we have a voice that people listen to, that we can expand across many different groups.
So tell me a little something for all the people who dream of starting a startup. That's a bit redundant, starting a startup. But what's it like?
Fun but hard. Fun.
You mean it's not glamorous? It's not rainbows and butterflies?
That's a funny thing. I think it's cool to do things like this. And I think every day there's something new. When I come home, I can talk to my friends and my family about new things every single day. So it keeps it exciting. But it certainly is a hard process. You're trying to figure out where the right funding is going to come from, how to hire the best people around you. And having that vision and constantly keeping to it. I don't think that's the hardest part for us. I think that's who we are. But finding people that match and see themselves with that too is interesting.
How exactly do you guys want to expand? I know you said that most of your base are millennials. Do you want to expand against like the generational gaps or just abroad? What are your goals when it comes to expanding?
Right, both ways. So first, we focus right now heavily on Brooklyn and Philadelphia. We're going to be working with groups like the Met Council and hopefully Crown Heights Tenants Union, TURN, which is Tenants Union Representative Network in Philly. And the goal this summer is to reach 10,000 reviews in both cities, both areas. So there's that kind of expansion, focusing on areas of high turnover, focusing on areas of a lot of college students. But then, as you mentioned, we want to cross generations, especially because, you have a lot of baby boomers that are moving into cities too and renting like crazy now. So, yeah.
Steve, last question. Go ahead.
So my last question to you is, what's the grand vision for Who's Your Landlord?
The grand vision for us is we want to be not only utilized nationally, but internationally. So because of the premise of what we do, we've already had people from countries like Nigeria, Canada, European countries, Mexico City, reach out to us saying that they want our product there. I think for us, it's a matter of resources. And so once we get to a point where we can be in multiple cities, and we'll certainly do that. But that's going to come down to technology, the SEO, and then, of course, also having feet on the ground, too, so that we can actually be part of these communities.
So we actually have part of that viral video. Thank you for joining us. We're going to play that now.
Oh, awesome.
Yes, thanks for coming on.
Sick.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Ever wonder what it's like to live in public housing? We often find ourselves engaging in conversations that speak around a concept versus speaking directly to it. Public housing and the way the federal government facilitates it definitely fall into that category. Join me as I give you an in-depth look as to how it is to search for public housing and what it's like if you actually find yourself lucky enough to get into it. Let's use Philly as a modern day example. First, note that there are currently over 100,000 families, 100,000, on the waiting list to access public housing via Philadelphia Housing Authority, PHA. That's a 10-year waiting list, folks.